Welcome to this explainer. Okay, picture this. A man walks into a dealership. He's 53 years old, recently retired, and he has spent his entire life being told one absolute unbreakable rule about money. Debt is bad, right? Debt is a trap. You should pay cash, own everything, and own nobody. So that is exactly what he did. He saved up for 3 solid years, pulled together $42,000 in cash, walked right in, slapped it on the table, and bought a car outright. He drove home feeling like an absolute genius, totally victorious over the system. But actually, scratch that. He really wasn't. And look, he wasn't financially illiterate either, not at all. He had just been following advice that made perfect sense in a world that kind of no longer exists. By sticking to that outdated financial dogma, he ended up paying this quiet, invisible tax. It wasn't some dramatic bankruptcy, but a massive cost paid simply for the feeling of owning something free and clear. Okay, let's dive into this. $12,500. That is the exact amount of money his quote-unquote safe decision actually cost him over 5 years. It's an incredible figure, isn't it? Just for understanding the difference between what debt costs and what capital earns, he could literally have kept all that money. So today, we're going to break down exactly how this happens. Part 1. The cash buyer's mistake. To really wrap our heads around that massive 12.5 grand mistake, we first have to tackle this pervasive myth that all debt is inherently bad. I mean, it's in every personal finance book out there, but lumping all debt into one bad category is kind of like saying all fire is dangerous. I mean, it's true until you're freezing. The reality is, debt is actually just a neutral tool, like a hammer. What matters is how you use it. Let's look at the 2 choices our buyer faced with his 42 grand. Option 1, pay cash, have 0 monthly payments, and own the car free and clear. Or, option 2, finance it, keep the cash liquid, take a 4% loan, and make payments. Instinctively jumping out that first option? Yeah, that's exactly where the financial bleeding starts for most folks. The reason paying cash is a trap comes down to one really fundamental concept: opportunity cost. Economists love this term, but honestly, we can just call it the hidden price of playing it safe. It's the potential return you're giving up by not deploying your capital effectively. The crucial question you gotta ask yourself isn't, is this debt? No, the crucial question is, what is that debt costing you versus what your cash could be earning somewhere else? Part 2, the opportunity cost math. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is we're not just talking theory here. Let's look at the actual scoreboard, which shows the exact opposite of how regular people think about money. If you pay cash, boom, you spend $42,000 and you have no debt. Sure, but if you took that same 42 grand and invested it conservatively, like in a broad stock market index fund at a historical 7% return, it grows to roughly $59,000 over 5 years. Meanwhile, that 4% car loan, it only costs you about $4,500 in total interest. The net result? You cover the interest entirely and you come out ahead by exactly $12,500. The math is literally undeniable. This right here shows exactly how wealthy people look at capital versus cheap debt. Part 3, depreciation and interest rates. Now, of course, this math has conditions. Rates change and, well, life happens. So we definitely need to acknowledge the reality of our current economic environment and the specific, let's call it the financial personality of cars as assets. Because cars are weird, highly flawed financial instruments. They depreciate aggressively. I mean, day one, you drive off the lot and immediately lose about 20% of the vehicle's value. Not because you crashed it, literally just because the calendar turned. By year 5, only 37 to 45% of its original value is even left. So when you pay cash, you are taking your absolute highest quality, liquid, productive capital and locking it up in an asset that is actively shrinking every single day. It's just a mathematically losing game. There is a perfect analogy for this. Using your cash to buy a car is like hiring a doctor to wash your dishes. I mean, is it technically possible? Sure, but it is absolutely not the best use of that resource. Your investable cash has a much higher purpose. It's capable of compounding and growing, rather than just sitting dead in your driveway as a depreciating ornament. However, we do have to acknowledge the era we're actually living in right now. Look, from 2012 to 2022, financing was a total no-brainer with those 2 or 3% rates. But recently, average rates have hit anywhere from 7 to 14%. And this brilliantly illustrates when you should pivot. It's a simple spread. If your loan rate is lower than your investment return, you finance, period. But if your loan rate is higher than your investment return, like say you get slapped with an 8% loan, but your money's only earning 7%, well, you're underwater before you even start. In that scenario, paying cash absolutely wins. The objective spread dictates the winner, not some old ideology. Part 4. The dealership's hidden profit. So, if you do decide paying cash is mathematically right for you, or if you're trying to outsmart the system with a great loan rate, we have to enter the antagonist's lair, the finance and insurance office at the dealership. Understanding their incentives changes the whole game. See, dealers make massive profits from what are called dealer reserve kickbacks. It's basically just the spread between a lender's buy rate and the rate the dealership actually charges you. If you walk in and announce you're paying cash up front, that super lucrative revenue stream vanishes, and they simply won't negotiate as good a deal on the sticker price. So instead, you run the sophisticated play. Step 1, negotiate as if you were absolutely going to finance. Step 2, lock the dealer into a firm out-the-door number. And step 3, only then, at the very end, do you pull out the cash at closing or use your pre-approved credit union loan. It completely separates the transaction and keeps all the leverage right in your hands. Part 5. Monthly payments and reality. But wait, what if you don't happen to have $42,000 just sitting around? Well, the auto industry has a real-world trap designed specifically for you, meant to totally confuse buyers who are forced to finance. $735. That is the average American monthly car payment right now. The industry anchors your brain to this specific monthly fee. They'll ask you, hey, can you afford $500 a month? Instead of actually talking about the total out-the-door price. It's deliberate. They want to separate you from calculating the massive amount of interest you're actually paying over the life of that loan. Let's move to and see how this builds. Loan terms have stretched dangerously over the last decade. We've gone from 48 months to 60 to 72 and increasingly 84 months. 7 years. By extending the loan to these absurd lengths, sure, your monthly payment stays the same, but the total cost of the vehicle just climbs dramatically. And because the car depreciates way faster than you're paying down that front-loaded interest, you end up totally upside down, meaning you owe way more than the car's actually worth. This leaves you super exposed and conveniently opens the door for the dealership to sell you extra fees, like gap insurance, literally just to cover the trap they set for you. Now, we really have to acknowledge the emotional side of personal finance here. Why do people fear owing money so much that they will pay a massive premium just to avoid it? Well, it boils down to a behavioral finance concept called loss aversion. Basically, the psychological pain of losing something is literally twice as powerful as the pleasure of gaining that exact same thing. The fear of owing money just completely overrides the rational calculation of what that money could do for you if it were invested instead. Psychological comfort is a very real thing, but you really must be conscious of the literal financial price you are paying for it. So what should the average smart buyer actually do? Okay, let's run through it. First, if you have 20% credit card debt, pay that down immediately before you even think about trying to invest the difference. Next up, boost your credit score. A 780 score versus a 620 can literally save you $15,000 in interest alone. Next, shop 3 to 5 different lenders before you ever set foot on a car lot. Also, remember that used cars depreciate far less, but they usually carry higher loan rates, so always do the math on that objective spread. And finally, and this is so crucial, never ever drain a 5% high-yield savings emergency fund just to buy a car. You'd be paying for a depreciating vehicle with your safety net, which honestly is quietly reckless. Capital is a highly productive resource. You gotta protect it. Which brings us right back to our 53-year-old guy who paid cash. You know, he made a defensible decision. He avoided debt, and hey, he sleeps just fine at night. But as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a somewhat provocative question. Is your peace of mind really worth $12,500? I mean, that is a family vacation. It's a kitchen renovation. It's a year of college tuition. He didn't lose that money in some dramatic market crash. It just never materialized. So the next time you make a major financial move, try to look past that immediate comfort. Calculate the opportunity cost and make absolutely sure your money is working exactly as hard as you do.